Good morning. Bonjour. Comment ça va? Et toi? Ça va très bien. Ni hao. Hola. Buongiorno. Bienvenue. Wan Ying. Bienvenidos. Benvenuta. And welcome. Welcome to another exciting episode of Gem Hunter Stories. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And each and every week, I get a truly unique opportunity to take you on a journey to places you've never been before, to hear stories you never heard before. Each week, I get one magnificent moment to take you on a mental, physical, and spiritual adventure into the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry. And it's my hope that the stories that I tell each and every week will help you, will empower you, will give you a direction, perhaps, to discovering the value of your own stories. I've been waiting to do this show for a long time. I just didn't know how to say it. I didn't really understand how to put it together in my own mind to be able to tell a story for you. How did it all relate? And some of you are still asking the question, how does gemstones relate to people? So I wanted to talk about every month, I'm going to do a show about whatever gemstone that we're covering for that month or for that episode, the spiritual and the sensuality of that gemstone. And when I say art, science, history, magic, what I'm really talking about is my evolution, my the adventure that I have been on for the last 19 years studying gemology. When I first started gemology, it was really about the art in the sense of I didn't grow up with jewelry in my life. My mother and father didn't have a lot of jewelry. My mother had some pieces. So when I got into jewelry, it was really about the beauty of it. And I had the unbelievable honor of my former business partner, Cosette Barrow, who was a master designer. I would see how she would create these things, these beautiful pieces, and I would. It was like being with a master, working with a master, Picasso, Rembrandt. It was just Mozart. She just saw jewelry. So for me, it was about just how beautiful the pieces were. I told you a long time ago about that woman who, when my first jewelry show, when she looked at the pieces on the table and she said, "Ooh, I want this. Ooh, I want that." Not that I want, I'm sorry, I need this, I need that. So when I first got into this whole thing, it was really about the art of it and just how pretty it was. The science came easy for me because I'm a scientist. So what I got into was the chemical compositions of the jewelry. I got into how different gemstones were created and different types of rocks and different places in the world. How did those gemstones come together? And I thought the art, the science of it was just beautiful. Things like we talked about last episode, something like isomorphic replacement, how just elements, if you just replace the elements in different ways, you get a different gemstone. When you take the same chromium that when you put into aluminum oxide makes a ruby, is that same chromium that when you put into a beryl, the structure of an emerald, you get an emerald. You get the green emerald. So the science was just so exciting to me, just to see and to study all the different ways gemstones manifest, how they interact with the light. The history, you cannot spend any time studying gemology without really appreciating the history of it. I say all the time that the whole history of mankind really revolves around gemstones and precious metals. So it was the history, understanding that the part of the thing that kicked off the French Revolution was Marie Antoinette's refusal, really, to buy and to wear and purchase a 2,800 carat diamond necklace. That was the thing. There was a lot of other things going on in France, but the thing that really got the people upset was the fact that they thought that she took their money, the treasury, and made the country of France broke because of her extravagance. And because she didn't buy that necklace, but because she bought so many other necklaces and hats that was the size, like whole entire ships on the top of her head, and the pearls and the jewelry, the whole let them eat cake thing. She didn't actually say that, but that was her attitude. So the history of gemstones and precious metals it just spoke to me. I was like, wow. But it wasn't until later on that I really began to understand the magic of it. Just the way people saw it. That's really the thing that moves me. That just not just so much the pieces themselves, but what they do, what people do to get it, the intoxication of it, because that's the only way to really describe it. It is an intoxication. Now, so let's talk about Garnet, right? This is Garnet. This is the Gem Hunter story. So we're going to talk about Garnet. So when you talk about Garnet, as I told you before, that Garnet is not it's not a gemstone itself. Garnet is a group of gemstones. Garnet is the overarching name of a group of gemstones. And because most people understand Amandine Garnet, one right here, the Armandine garnet, because most people understand that garnet, the most well known, and that color reminded people of pomegranate seeds. The size and the color of it reminded people of pomegranate seeds. And in Latin, pomegranate is granatum. So the word garnet came out of that. And we talked about just what garnet is. Garnet is the gemstone for January. And this is the last Wednesday. Happy birthday to all the people born in January. Happy birthday for friends and family who are born in this wonderful month, January. This is your gemstone. As I told you, garnet comes in 6 different species. Yes, we talk about gemstones in terms of species. So there's 6 different species, and of those species, there's like 25 different varieties of garnet, different colors. And even though they all have a similar molecular structure, we talked about that. There's 2 groups, and both groups have the same molecular structure. We're not going to get into the science of it today, just as a refresher. Remember I said the XY and silicon. That's what this is. XY. And there's 2 groups. The first group is spartatine, pyro, and almandine. This is the almandine, right? Actually, this is a pyro right here. Okay. And each of those groups, the only difference between the 2 groups, isomorphic replacement, is that you have 2 groups with the same molecular structure. And in those different positions, either in the X position or in the Y position. In this case, the X, and you say in the X position and the AL position, the Y position. There's just a slight difference. There's just something that's added in, an element that gives it a different way of interacting with the light. So when you look at a gemstone like spartatine garnet, and we talked about what spartatine garnet is. And what amazes me is the way people talk about it. The way people talk about gemstone. There's a book that I read, and I'll bring it up on the second half. There's a book that I read. It's called the Book of Stones. And in that book that describes a metaphysical book talking about all the gemstones, the way they describe spartatine garnets are powerful stones of attraction. They help one to magnetize a lover, a new job, a creative project, or anything which one's personal energy of attraction is a key factor. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to wear a gemstone that magnetizes a new lover? I mean, imagine walking down the street, minding your business, going to the local supermarket, and the person, the man, the woman that you want is magnetized to you, it's drawn to you. I'm standing in the grocery store, minding my business, and all of a sudden, this beautiful woman just walked to me and says, "Hi, Barry." "Hi, how are you?" "I'm fine. I've been noticing you across the room." Really? and to understand that the reason why she's here, part of the reason why she's here is because she was magnetized to me. She was drawn to me. And imagine going to work or getting ready to go for a job interview, and your girlfriend, your wife says, "Honey, did you wear? Don't forget to wear your garnet." "I know, honey, I know, because remember that's how you got the last job. So you wear that the person interview is going to give you the job, because spartatine garnet magnetizes things to you. It attracts things to you." That's what that gemstone, according to not just that book, but so many books, says when they describe spartatine garnet, that's how they describe it. And the question in my mind was, who decided that? Who decided that gemstone would have that power? And it's easy to look at spartatine garnet when it's cut, when it's already cut and polished. So you say, yeah, of course, that's what it looks like. This looks, it's pretty. It's a yellowish orange color. You understand that it's the thing that gets it, the color, is the iron and manganese. And you learn that it was a stone of attraction. But the question is, who gave it that title? Who gave it that ability? Because see, it didn't look like that when you found it. It didn't look cut and polished with the different facets and the different maximum way to interact with the light. It didn't look like that. No. It didn't look, you didn't see all the colors radiating, just walking down the street, walking down the trail or the field or the valley, and you see this beautiful gemstone just glistening in the sun. No, that's not what it looked like. It looked like this. This is spartatine garnet before it's cut. So, and when you think about the real power of that concept is, this is what the ancient Egyptians saw. Because spartatine garnet has been around for thousands of years. So how is it that early woman saw this gemstone and decided that it was going to have that power? And when you understand that we're talking about a description of a gemstone that has existed for thousands of years. This is not this book isn't just something that people came up with. Every book that I own that talks about gemstones, when you talk about garnet, it talks about it as a stone of attraction. So how did that happen? Because somebody believed in it. That's the thing. That's the trick. It's someone believed. You can't just walk up to or see a garnet and just understand. It doesn't say, hey, I'm a stone of attraction. Someone created that consciousness. Someone told that story. And because of that story, someone believed in it. You believed in it. You said, yes, that's what that gemstone does. That's how that gemstone embodies my spirit, resonates with who I am. This stone is a stone of attraction. And every time I wear this stone around my neck, on my ears, on my finger, that stone brings things to me. It is a stone of attraction. I believe that. So the real question for me as I was studying gemology, the magic was not so much whether or not that stone actually had that gift, actually had that power. It's the fact that we believe in it. And and here's the hard part, here's the jump. If you can believe that a gemstone can do it, if you can believe in that story for thousands of years, somebody like my good friend Ashley, who is into gemstone, into the metaphysics, she can sit there and just rattle it off what that gemstone does, how it makes you feel like, and she says it. I don't know if you see our exchanges on Facebook, but she says it like it's gospel. Like this is a black cup. There you go. This is a black thermos, and it is. So when she talks about that garnet, that's how she talks about it. So my thing is, if you believe in that story, then why can't you believe in your story? Whatever spartatine garnet qualities are, the hardness, the molecular structure, the thing that makes it different, that color, if you can believe in that story, why can't you believe in your story? Why can't you believe of the gifts and the talents that you have inside of you? And what makes it really deep, here you go. What makes it really deep is that the thing that makes a gemstone rare, the thing that makes a gemstone valuable is its rarity. That's remember one of the 5 qualities. It has to be rare. So if those qualities that exist in a spartatine garnet that makes it that color, that yellowish orange color, and we know because it has iron and manganese in it, that's what gives it that color, and we know how rare it is, just imagine how rare you are. There's only one of you. There is only, here's a line, put your name there. There's only one of you. So whatever your gifts, your talents is, if people understand that story, if you tell that story of who you are, why you're a firefighter, why you're an investment banker, why you got into teaching, If that is your story, then people will see you as that story. I don't know if it's going to last for, well, yeah, why not last for thousands of years? How many people that we know lived thousands of years ago, when we tell their story, that's the story we tell. Gemstones literally shows us, is a microcosm of who we are. So whatever that gemstone power is that we've imbued on it, and we believe it, we can do the same thing with ourselves. That is the essence of what Gem Hunter stories are about. Discovering the value of your story, of what makes you different. If you was a gemstone, and we have 8 billion gemstones on this planet, and each one of those gemstones, all of us have a same basic molecular structure. We have 2 eyes. Lord willing, we have 2 eyes, a nose, mouth, ears, arms, legs. Some of us have hair. But each one of us is unique. Each one of us were put here for a reason. Each one of us was the combination of the embodiment of all the elements that was around us, the way we grew up, the food that we ate, our parents, our friends, our neighbors, the schools that we went to. That's what gave us those unique traits. So if we can believe in the traits or in the powers of a gemstone that have 4 or 5 elements, how is it that we can't believe in the elements, all the thousands of elements that's inside of us that make us unique? How do we not describe our own story? When you talk about the spirituality of a gemstone, when you talk about gemstones just on a spiritual level, you're talking about something that has been around for the beginning of time. Gemstones is listed all throughout the Bible. The high priest wore a breastplate of all the gemstones, all of them in 4 rows of all the gemstones, emerald, ruby, sapphire, everything. Garnet's there. Thousands of years, it's in the Bible. And when you read those scriptures, when you read those passages, they talk about the relationship between that gemstone. They use those gemstones to represent God, or the relationship to God. And many cultures understood or felt like the gemstone that they had was God. God lived in them. So if that's the story that we believe, why can't we believe in our own story? Let's take another one. Rhodolite garnet. Rhodolite garnet. When you look at rhodolite garnet, this is it. It's a beautiful pinkish colored garnet. This is a garnet. It's a combination of pyro garnet. Remember we talked about speditine, pyro, and alamine. Those two together makes rhodolite. Rhodolite in Greek means rose. So it's a rose-colored garnet. And when you read the book of Stone, it says that rhodolite garnet alleviates feelings of inadequacy, unworthiness that may block one's ability to receive love and abundance. It can help one be more loving, considerate to oneself and others. Really. Think about it. This is a gemstone. This gemstone has the ability, according to not just this one book, but hundreds of books, says that this gemstone alleviates feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness. As someone who has suffered through years of feeling inadequate, self-esteem issues, even though I had accomplished all these other things because of the special relationship that I had with my mom at that time, my self-esteem was like -10. Imagine what you're saying is, if that if I had a rhodolite garnet, some of those feelings that I felt when I was homeless, if I had a rhodolite garnet in my pocket, it will help alleviate the feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness. Imagine that gemstone in my pocket, on my neck, in my ring would alleviate that. And people buy it. People are looking at this right now today as saying, one, they didn't know that garnet came in a pink color. So those of you who are into pink are like, wow. And two, there's some of you are sitting there saying, oh my God, how cool would it be? How cool would it be to have something that can help one be more loving and considerate to oneself and others? The whole Congress of the United States should have that gemstone in their pocket. It should be like, here's your congressional badge and here's your rhodolite garnet. Churches, every church in America, I don't care what church you're in, should have this garnet sitting right there. And that's part of the reason why garnets or gemstones were so part of religion, because of what it meant, of what the symbol, the spirituality of that gemstone. That when you had this gemstone in your hand and you wore it over your heart, or you wore a bracelet, that gemstone would help you be more considerate to others. To not only to others, but to yourself. And my question is, if you believe that gemstone can give you that power, just because the molecular structure of it has trace amounts of iron and magnesium in it, therefore that gemstone will alleviate your feelings of inadequacy. And if you believe in that story, and that story has been around for thousands. I mean, that's the thing that blew my mind. You're talking about gemstones that, one, has been around from the beginning of time. One. Two, how is it that gemstones people can relate to the same gemstone in completely different areas? Gemstones transcends race. Gemstones transcend gender. Gemstones transcend religion. You can have people in completely different religions. The people who are Muslims and people who are Jewish, they be completely different in regards to their understanding of God, but their understanding of garnet is usually the same. They just use it in different ways, but from a religious point of view, they understand the spirituality of garnet. And if you believe in the story of garnet, if you believe in that story, how is it that you can't believe in the story of who you are, of your story? Every woman knows that when there's a certain dress or a tube of lipstick or earrings or a hairstyle or shoes, especially, that when you wear that shoe, you believe that shoe, you spend $1,500 on a pair of Lubus, because you knew that the second you put those Lubus on, it was going to empower you. You were going to be the finest thing in the room. Like, you put them on and you just said to yourself, they better watch out, because I got my shoes on and I got this cold dress, and when I put them together, voila. That's the story. That's the story that you have imbued in those shoes. And what's so powerful is that there's nothing else in the planet, there's nothing else in the whole world that intoxicates people in the exact same way than gemstones. I'm talking about 5,000 years of that story being told over and over and over and over and over again, where Barry B. Mixon can read that story in 2023 and understand that that gemstone had that story of that it alleviates those feelings exists for thousands of years today. And I'm still telling you that story today because of what it said. And if you believe in that story, how can you not believe in your story of yourself? How How can you not believe in the story, not only of yourself, but other people? Listening to other people's stories, listening to what that person had to go through, what you had to go through in your life to interact with the light. Just like a rhodolite garnet. That's the magic. That's the magic. Art, science, art is beautiful. Science is, it's made out of molecular, the molecular structure is XY silicon. History, the Garnet was the gemstone that Noah had on the ark. I mean, just think about it. In the Bible, it literally says that when Noah was floating around, and those of you, I mean, we've all been in the dark. Imagine you're in the whole world is flooded. You're on a ship with every animal in the world, 2 by 2. See, I did go to Sunday school a little bit. And the only light that you have on that ship wasn't a flashlight. It wasn't a LED. It was a garnet. It was a garnet because of the qualities of what a garnet does. That's what it was written in the Bible. And for those of you, I mean, some people believe that the Bible was written by man, and some people believe that the Bible was written by God himself. So therefore, God himself is literally saying that that's the qualities of that gemstone according to the Bible. And if you believe that story, then you have got to believe. You have no other choice to believe, ultimately, in your own story. I mean, let's get past Garnet is not a living thing and you are. Let's get past that. Let's just stick on the fact that you are made out of elements, a garnet is made out of elements. And a garnet is made out of 4 or 5 elements, and you are made out of thousands of elements. And the way a garnet interacts on the light is based on those elements and what's inside of the element. The way you interact with the light is based on the things that's inside of you. Based on the things how you grew up. How you grew up. The things that amaze me now that I see it. The evolution, art, science, history, magic. I understand because of gemstones. I understand my relationship, my memory, my understanding of who, for me, my mom was. Totally changes. I understand that I had a basic molecular structure. Yes, you need to order some rhodolite. Yeah, I know. That's what it makes you. When you understand, thank you, Charlie. When you understand what it does. If Charlie buys them right now, he's going to buy it because of the story that I told of what rhodolite does, that it can deal with, alleviate feelings of inadequacy. He's going to wear that, and every time he puts it on, it's the story that I am telling you, at least in some part, the story that he reads, that he believes in that. So if that is the case, hey Tony, if that is the case, then why can't you believe in your story? That's the thing. That's why you hear the passion, because when you think about it, it blows your mind. You're like, oh my God. Oh my, for real? Seriously? So I'm going to calm down for a second, and I'm going to see you on the other side, and we're going to keep talking. Gem bit for you. I meet a lot of people in my travels who are born in the month of January. And when I ask them what color garnet is, they always tell me the red burgundy color. And I'm surprised because garnet comes in a wide variety of colors. In fact, garnet's not even just the gemstone. It's a group. And there's 7 different species with over 25 different varieties. So the next time you see a blue, green, or even red gemstone, it may not be a ruby. It may very well be garnet. Discover the value of your story. you know, when I open up to say, each week I'm going to take you on a journey, an exciting episode. It's exciting for me. I didn't know Barbara was going to do that. Thank you, Barbara. I mean, Beethoven. Oh wow, that's awesome. So let's get back to that. Let's get back to believing in your story. Let's say Savorite Garnet, which is actually one of my favorite gemstones. On the level of the same way I like pearls, a Savorite Garnet is an unbelievable garnet. Savorite Garnet, here you go. This is the book. Here's the book right here. It's called The Book of Stones by Robert Simmons and Nasiah Ejian. Ejian is Ahsian. And in this book, Robert Simmons says that a Savorite Garnet is as potent a prosperity stone as I have ever worked with. This is what he opens with. Look how big this book is. I don't know, I don't even know what edition this is. This is like the 5th or 6th edition. And that's what he opens with. It is a healing. It is healing of all limitations on a physical level, whether they affect health or wealth. I mean, healing of all, not kind of, if it was on a Tuesday, it said healing of all limitations on a physical level. I mean, my shoulder's hurting right now. I can use some Savorite Garnet. So what you're saying is somebody thousands of years ago looked at this gemstone. This is a Savorite Garnet. And to me, what I love about Savorite Garnet, and no offense to you guys who are emerald fans, Savorite Garnet, because of what garnet is, the way it has the refractive index, Savorite Garnet just sparkles. It just sparkles. It explodes with light, almost on the same level as a diamond. And so bluish green in color. The secret ingredient, again, is chromium, the same chromium that makes an emerald green and vanadium. Those two elements, and literally, it rivals the metaphysical powers and beauty of emerald. And the thing that you got to really understand as you study in gemology is who came up with that? Because yes, I know in the 21st century that the molecular structure of Savorite Garnet is calcium and vanadium and chromium. I know that in the 21st century, but they didn't know that in 500 BC. They didn't understand that in 1736 when the microscope wasn't even invented yet. They felt it. The spirituality, the sensuality of that. When you look at that garnet, when you look at a Savorite Garnet, and you see the way that it interacts with the light, and you know that there is somebody that you have seen, male or female. I've experienced a woman that struck me like that. Just that light, the way they entered, and they didn't have to, some had green eyes, some just their whole spirit, the way they wore that green dress, those shoes. And so if you understand that story, it comes from Tanzania, it comes from Kenya, so it's exotic. In fact, Savorite Garnet, it's the same thing like Tanzanite. It's exotic, the name, where it comes from. And you have to understand that this garnet is made from titanic forces, literally continents coming together to make that gemstone. At the bottom it says there was 40 mines in the past, now there's only 4. So if you believe in that story, if you can say to yourself, you could read this book and say, really, that's what it is? That's what this is? That is what it does? If you believe in that story, you say to yourself, if I wear this gemstone will have those powers on me. This gemstone, I will walk out my house. I will get out of my car. I will go to my next business meeting. I will meet my next person. That a stone of healing of all limitations on the physical level, whether wealth or health. If you, according to this book, written from books over thousands of stories being told for hundreds and thousands of years, if you believe in that story, then how can you not believe in your story? How can you not believe in your story? You can't. That's the whole essence of this program. Every week, I'm going to show you how things that we perceive on our level, things that we perceive on the human level, those qualities, those characteristics, the way we look at value on a human level, is how is it so different than the value, the way we look at a gemstone? Because it's all based on a story. It's all based on a story. And if you believe that story, if you believe in that story, then you have to believe in your own story. You have to believe in your spirituality, your spirituality, how you interact with God, how you interact with the light, because of the same characteristics that if you believe that a little piece of gemstone, we're not talking about some big giant rock. We're talking about a little gemstone, 1 carat, 2 carats, just laying in the ground in Kenya. What is that? It is a Severite garnet. Well, that is really, what does it do? It heals you. It heals all the limitations that are inside of you. Really? Oh my God. If I put this in my pocket, my hip hurts. What's going to happen? You are going to be healed. If you believe that, then extrapolate it. Believe in your story. That's all I'm saying. That's what the power of stories are. If you can say to yourself, honey, I'm putting this on, I'm wearing this, I'm carrying this because we do it every day. We have our lucky hats, we have our lucky pens, we have our lucky shoes, we have our things because of the experience I had. And that's the story, man. Don't touch those shoes. Why? Those are my lucky shoes. I wear that. And then you tell a story of what those shoes did, what happened when you wore those shoes. If you can, and imagine the whole entire world for thousands of years, everybody in India, in China, in Africa, in South America, in Mexico, in North America, everybody believed the same thing about those gems because garnets are found all over the world. So think about how amazing. We as human beings, we don't agree on anything, okay? Within the same church, the same community, the same family. But yet, when you look at a Severite garnet, when you understand the history and what a Severite garnet does, what makes a Severite garnet special, that it rivals the beauty of an emerald, when you understand that story, you see that garnet in a whole completely different thing. When you understand what that people are looking at right now, people are like, oh my God, garnet looks like, those of you who are born in January thought that January was just the burgundy stone. That's what you thought it was? No, sorry. Comes in a variety of colors. And each one of those colors, each one of those gemstones have a different, slightly different quality because it has a slightly different thing that's inside of it. Just like you are a human being. And there's things inside of you that make you different. I have a good friend that told me just yesterday that she graduated from high school at 16. And I'm like, what? I mean, I'm fairly smart. I didn't graduate from at 16. like, how'd you take all that? Because it took me a minute. I needed all 4 years of my time. I needed those 2 extra years. But if that's your story, of how you interacted with the light. People who are high school stars, or you're an excellent cook, or you can do things that other people can't do. If you believe in that story, if you understand your value, if you understand the value of a gemstone, how do you not see your value? Discover the value of your story? Is it making sense? Please put in the comments. Am I just talking to myself? Is this making sense? See, I don't have to get into the hocus pocus. It's right there. It's not whether or not the gemstone actually does what it does. It's the fact of whether you believe in it. That's the key. Let's do one more. Here's andesite. And there's the different. See, you see the light? Look at the way that sparkles. That's a demontoid garnet. Demontoid is literally the short way of saying the same thing that what a garnet is. But there's a black. This is the green version of it. Here's the green version of it. When you see it, it's like, to me, again, emeralds are kind of cool. Emeralds have that green, but they're kind of cool. The light is kind of subtle. Whereas a demontoid garnet, yeah, the light just says, boom, here I am. Here I am. I'm thinking that song, Rocking Like a Hurricane. Sorry, that just had to come out. But there's also a black version of it. Black andesite garnet. That's what it is. It's called the titanium garnet. Titanium. Think about it. That's the blackness of that gemstone comes from not just an element, but an element that's a metal. Titanium, which gives it that black. So when you're talking about black andesite garnet, you're talking about a gemstone. Again, according to this book and a whole lot of books, the Book of Stones says that a black andesite garnet is a stone of protection and power. It immediately connects one's life force, your life force, with the fiery core of the earth, allowing one access to almost, read it to yourself, almost infinite supply of energy for creative work. Again, porteve in Francais means for real. Like, really, that gemstone gives you infinite power. Oh man, I need to buy some of this. Infinite creative power. That's us. An almost infinite supply of power for creative work. So for those of you who are creators, those of you who do art, those who bake, those who paint, those of you who do create, those of you who teach, if you had this gemstone in your pocket, this rock, this little rock, if you saw it, you would say, oh, that's just a piece of glass. That's just, I don't know, obsidian, it's a volcanic rock. You're saying that this gemstone right here, the story says that this gemstone will, and because it has titanium in it, and we all know what titanium is. We know that that's like a serious metal. They build ships, they build rocket ships, they build airplanes out of titanium. You spend tens of thousands of dollars for a car with a titanium shell because of the low density, but the extreme strength and resistance to corrosion. Even the name titanium. And what you're saying is that trace amount of that in this little black stone. Look at it. I got a oh my God. You got a black andesite garnet? Oh man, you good. I think about how many times I was getting my butt kicked in school when I was a kid because I was a nerd, still a nerd, but I'm just a little bigger now. And you mean to tell me that if I had this gemstone in my pocket, all the people that bought me out, I've been like, come on, bring it. Because I believe that gemstone would give me protection. Imagine me studying for a test and this gemstone would give me a infinite, almost. I mean, like the fact that they minimized it by saying an almost, like kind of wouldn't be enough. No, I don't want you to think you have unlimited infinite power. You have an almost unlimited. You don't have quite $1 billion. You got almost $1 billion, really. An almost infinite supply of creative power, of energy for your creative thing. This little piece of gemstone gives you that power. And if you if you buy that today, tomorrow, next week, because of the story that I'm telling you today, some of you are going to buy that gemstone, and because you believe, oh my God, that's what As a Man Thinketh was talking about. When it said, very soon, so altered has your mind become, that the workshop can no longer hold you. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life and the garment is cast aside. And with the growth of opportunity which fit the scope of his expanding powers, he passes out of forever. And when you look at that scripture in As a Man Thinketh, and you know that where he came from, and not to leave out the ladies, where she came from, and then at the end of it, you have who she became, and the only thing that changed was her mind. She believed. Think about how many movies that spoke about that. That's what is exciting to me when I think about how many movies I've seen in my life. Star Wars, The Matrix, so many, even Forrest Gump. When you realize that it was about that he believed. When Jenny asked Forrest Gump, what was he afraid when he was out there in Vietnam and everything else? And first he said no, and then he described what his journey was. He described that lake. He described that mountain being so beautiful that he didn't know where the earth ended and heaven began. And he described being on that road and just everything. And Jenny looked at him literally on her deathbed and looked and said, I wish I could have been with you. And he literally, you saw him come back from wherever he was in his mind, and he looked her straight in the eye and said, you were. He believed. Every step, every breath, every day, every week, every month, every year, from the time he saw her to the time he was sitting there, he believed it. He believed that that's the magic. And if you believe in that story, if you believe in that story, yes, the Infinity Stones, yes, how many billions of dollars that movie made from Thanos having those gemstones? And if you believe in that story, then you have got to believe. You've got to believe in your story. You got to. You don't have no other choice. And every week on this show, I'm going to show you how every gemstone has a metaphysical property, has a spiritual property, has a sensuality to it. It has to. There's no way men got on ships for hundreds of years and went across oceans and stuff just for the opportunity to hold a gemstone. They didn't care about the indigenous tribe. They didn't care about the dangerous indigenous animals and the plants and everything else. They believed in what they were going to do, what that gemstone meant to them. And if a gemstone can inspire, the qualities and the characteristics of a gemstone can inspire people to get on ships and just travel to places they didn't even know. And no matter how many people came back or didn't come back, they still believed in that story. If that story can exist for thousands of years, how is it that you don't understand? And that we all do not understand what our story is? What is the value of our story? You mean to tell me I got titanium in me? Traces of titanium in human beings. We got titanium, we got iron, we got manganese. Look at cereal boxes. You know those 28 essential vitamins and nutrients and stuff that Tony the Tiger used to sell? Those of you in America, sugar frosted flakes. Those are the elements that's in the gemstone. So not only do you have those elements inside of you, your elements are moving. Your elements are connecting. You can do things. And black energy like just sits there. Yeah, it's black. It's cold. What's up, brother? But it doesn't do anything. So anything that it does, we've given in that power. So if I can give that power to a gemstone, what can I do with my own power? That's it. That's it. And you could do that with every gemstone. You can see that with every gemstone, what it does. Almandine, just contains iron and aluminum. Okay, it provides strength and security. You talk. That's it. That's what almandine looks like before it's cut. So, Barbara, go ahead and turn off my screen. So, what I wanted you to get out of today, what I want you to get out of every week when you come on this show, I want you to understand that when I'm telling you about discovering the value of your own stories, I'm using things that have existed for thousands of years. I have hundreds of books that says that this gemstone, these gemstones, Garnet, has these powers. And once I realized that, I looked at those gemstones in a completely different way. That's been my evolution. I've been studying this for 19 years, and now I'm literally revitalized. They're just understanding what does. And if that is true for those gemstones, then it's true for you. So again, I hope you enjoyed today. Please subscribe. Those of you who like this show, follow the show. And your homework assignment is, as always, look at yourself in the mirror. Look at the people around you. Think about who they are to them and discover the value of not only your own story, but their story. So until next week, au revoir, atatella, voila. There's a thing in gemology called refractive index. That's the study of how much a gemstone will bend white light into the different colors. And garnet has the highest refractive index of any colored gemstone except for a diamond. A diamond's refractive index is about 2.4, whereas a garnet, especially a demontoid garnet, has a refractive index of 1.88. which gives garnet a wonderful brilliance. To me, a garnet is better. A savorite garnet is even better than an emerald. Discover the value of your story. Nothing has value without a story. That is the essence of Professor Barry's Science Emporium. Ladies and gentlemen, science is all around us. It is in everything that your child does. It is in everything that your child wants to be. So what I do is take their stories and incorporate it into the stories of the lessons that I want to teach in science and history. And I guarantee that at the end of the lesson, your child will either love science or have a much greater appreciation for science and history, because they will come to realize, as thousands of children have come to realize all over the world, is that at Professor Barry's Science Emporium, everything is science. I hope I have the opportunity to work with your child. Professor Barry's Science Emporium. where everything is science.